I'm Jolene Wynn, and this is the Porn Addict's Wife podcast, episode number 258, OnlyFans, an interview with Victoria Sinis. If your husband is struggling with a pornography problem and you want some help with it and you are not finding the resources that you like, you are in the right place. My name is Jolene Wynn. I am a certified life coach. I am an active member of the LDS faith, and I am the wife of a former porn addict. And on this podcast, I am going to share with you the tools that you need in order to start your healing journey. This is where I'm going to show you how to dive deep into intentional living, how to rekindle connection with your spouse, how to manage all that emotional turmoil that you're feeling, how to break the addiction cycle that you have to your husband's addiction, and tell you all of the ways to do that and start healing. I am so glad that you're here, and I can't wait to get started. Let's go. Hello, my ladies, and good morning. I am super excited to have a very special episode of the podcast today. I am going to be sharing an interview that I did with a woman named Victoria Sinis. She has an incredible story. I first became aware of her probably just over a year ago on Instagram. I started seeing a video of hers get shared around. This is a girl who used to work at OnlyFans and in their marketing. And I just absolutely love her story of how she came to understand the industry. She's giving us an idea of what it looks like and what the pornography and OnlyFans industry are, how they're working, how they are really taking advantage not only of men, but also of the girls that they kind of incentivize and manipulate into coming into this world. And I wanted to share this today. She has such a powerful testimony of God, such a powerful story of conversion, of what made her stop working there. And it's so wonderful to hear her speak. But I really wanted to share it because I know there are so many of you who struggle with what your husband is doing, if he's interacting with people or not. And I wanted to give you kind of a behind the scenes look, and this is something we go into in the interview, but I wanted to give you not only a behind the scenes of how OnlyFans works, but also an opportunity to see it so that you can have more compassion. And this is really important because when we don't have compassion, when we have a lot of resentment and anger, and all justifiable, 100%. But that emotion can be very draining and keep you very stuck. And that's not what I want for you. So I encourage you guys to listen to this beautiful girl with an open mind and just to hear her story, and her testimony of God is so powerful. And without further ado, here is Victoria Sinis. All right, I am so excited to have you on, Victoria. Thank you so much for joining. If you wouldn't mind, I would love it if you would just introduce yourself to my ladies a little bit. Tell a little bit
Yeah,
of your story.
yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for having me. Well, my name's Victoria Sinis. I was about to say I'm 26. I'm not. I just had a birthday. I'm 27 now.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. That's wild. Um, but yeah, I was born and raised in Melbourne, Australia. I'm a first generation. So my father was born in Greece, my mother was born in England. So yeah, a little bit of a mixed human there. But yeah, basically through a very wild series of events, I ended up working in the porn industry, and I was actually one of the people that was selling porn. I was promoting it, and it was all under the lens of OnlyFans. So I know a lot of people hear about OnlyFans, but they don't really know what it is. There's so many whispers. It's just this term that's kind of interjected into our culture. And it's painted as a positive and liberating and girl power and all the things. And that's what I thought it was.
Right.
And, working there and seeing what I saw and all of the different things, I ended up having a very, very radical encounter with Jesus. That totally changed my life. And 5 days from this encounter with Jesus, I walked away from everything. That was about a year and a half ago now. And honestly, every single day, basically since then, we've just been talking about the reality of what goes on behind the scenes, what's truly happening to generations, and just talking about how Jesus totally changed my life within a couple days.
I love that. I love that so much. I mean, I remember um, finding a video. Obviously, I follow so many people on social media. They're all related to the porn industry and seeing one of the very first interviews I think that you did, and I was like, this is sensational and I love this. So I'm so grateful that you're here today to talk about it. And I want to dive in a little bit, can you help my audience understand a little bit more of what that OnlyFans looked like on the back end? Like, what was your day to day
Hmm.
working for OnlyFans?
Yeah, definitely. So I worked for this thing called an OnlyFans agency. So not a lot of people, I guess, have heard of agencies before. And there's a reason for that. It's because they're underground. So I guess in this new era of how porn is shared, the reason why OnlyFans is so alluring compared to just a traditional like Pornhub or something like that is because it's about, oh, I can follow that girl that I follow on Instagram on OnlyFans and we can actually communicate with each other.
Mhm.
We can
Yeah.
actually build a relationship. And so you can do these things called custom requests or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And so there's this new depth of level to relationship when it comes to the consumption of porn that's facilitated through something like OnlyFans. So that's important and the context is needed.
Right.
Because if you think about this from a business lens, and I think a little nuance here is a lot of prostitution and sex work in America is illegal. In
Right.
Australia, it's not, it's all legal. So there is
Okay.
also very different cultural lenses that I think are important because this stuff, again, back home is not really that taboo and it's kind of very normal,
Right.
which I think matters. But I can definitely see it also here in the US, how like it's just being so pushed, like
Yes,
girls
for sure.
OnlyFans, like, and I'm sure we'll talk about that as well. But anyways, again, context is needed. But so if you think about this logistically, if I have an Instagram account with hundreds of thousands of followers and I'm funneling all of my followers from Instagram to OnlyFans, well, how can I sit there and facilitate thousands of conversations with
Right.
people when we know that the main allure of OnlyFans is conversations,
Right.
right? So that's why girls will then go, okay, I need to offset all of that work to an agency. And
Mm.
so that's where an agency comes into play. So one of the main roles and kind of part number one of an OnlyFans agency is account management. And so basically your role is to pretend to be the girl on her behalf and make as
Okay.
much as possible. So what will happen is a girl will go, sign up for an agency. They'll do this thing called a questionnaire, and it's all the information that you can think of that's needed to then create a brief, and
Hmm.
then that brief is given to these things called chatters. And so chatters are people from third world countries traditionally that are paid very low, like $1 to $5 an hour,
Hmm.
to pretend to be multiple women on OnlyFans. And so they're trained in this thing called the girlfriend experience.
Okay.
Yeah, their role is a commission role.
Hmm.
So how can I literally make as much money as possible off this subscriber pretending to be this girl? And it's sales job. They have like a spreadsheet, they have quotas they have to hit and all the things you can imagine. And so in that, as account managers, you do account audits, you have a look the health of the account, the subscribers, who do you need to
Right.
like, all the things you can imagine that come with the business lens
Right.
of account management. So that's kind of element number one of
Mhm.
what a day-to-day looked like. But that was kind of one department. The department that I was in, I guess you could say, and this was a startup as well. So everything was being built brand new from the ground up. But it was marketing. And
Mhm.
so my role was to make girls go as viral as possible, as quickly as possible, because the more notoriety you got on social media, the more people you could pull into a funnel system and
Right.
then implement OnlyFans. So we had actually hired an expert who would study algorithms. And so every single day, this person would send us very curated, hyper sexualized content.
Hmm.
And so we would get the girls to literally create like 3 to 5 TikTok accounts. And every single day on those TikTok accounts, they're posting at least 5 unique videos per account of this really hyper sexual content.
Hmm.
And then, so you're posting up to 20 videos a day of this manipulated to go viral, very sexual content to go out into the social media world to be able to entice men to put them into funneling systems to get them to consume porn. And
Right.
so very targeted, very intentional, and it works. Like in
Right.
7 days, we had a girl on a fresh account doing this method get 2.2 million views on one of her TikToks.
That's insane.
Yeah. And so again, it's like the magnitude of this and what is happening behind the scenes is massive. And so again, that's I think really important, especially for I guess the sphere of influence that you're in, for people to understand that there is a
Right.
mega industry behind this. And then element number three is is recruitment. So
Hmm.
then obviously again it's a business model. So you're wanting to bring new people on. So you're scouring the internet and you're looking for people that fit certain requirements. So
Hmm.
cold messaging them from the agency, like Instagram.
Yeah.
That's the parties that we're throwing. It's got the dinners, it's got the cars, it's got the
Yes.
lifestyle. And we're recruiting people saying, do you want this lifestyle? We'll come do porn and you can have this lifestyle. Um, and so then that's kind of got its whole methodology in itself. But that's a very brief, I guess, rundown of like the three elements of an OnlyFans agency.
I love that. I think it's so fascinating. I think it's so interesting. I have so many women whose husbands have some kind of interaction with other women, whether that's through someone on Instagram or OnlyFans. And I think it's so fascinating and important for my ladies to hear that while it doesn't excuse the husband's behavior, we want to understand that if he's chatting with a girl, he might not actually be chatting with that girl,
Probably.
right? It's like so fascinating. And sometimes it's so important to recognize, and it kind of goes into the second thing that you were saying, is that we're not just looking at, like, the husbands are being very, men are being manipulated, women are being manipulated too, but we are
Hmm.
being manipulated by a multi-billion dollar industry, right?
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes it seems, because it's so personal, right? So personal to the wife, so personal to their relationship, it feels like it's just one girl on Instagram and your husband, but it's
Mhm.
actually a team. It's a network of people. It's companies and agencies and a whole industry that is genius and brilliant at what they do. And they know
Mm.
exactly how to target people and who to target and how to change things in order to target them better so that they can make money. And that's the whole goal.
Yeah, I think you're so right. Is that what I guess some of the language that I use around this, and I really hope that this brings some sort of, again, the emphasis, and I think that you're on the same page, is we're not giving excuses for poor behavior.
Right.
And I think that's really important. Um, but we attack the problem, not the person.
Yes.
Because in this sphere, even in activism or whatever, it's so much of men pitted against women, women
Yes.
against men, whatever. And it's like, hey guys, the more that we sit here and demonize men, criticize women, whatever way you want to play it, we're forgetting that there's a $97 billion industry that's actually the problem. And
Yes.
so it's through facilitating things like OnlyFans agencies that are pushing this. I have a co-worker who deals with men at the point of purchasing sex. So when they get arrested for actually physically buying sex, he has a ministry and they come when they're like literally in handcuffs. And they just love on them. And majority of the men that are in those situations, he's like, of course there are monsters, that's real. But majority of these men will sit there and burst into tears and go, I don't know how I got here. I don't
Yes.
know what's happened. And it's
100%.
because it's this small increment. So like I guess an example of this, just to help really, I hope, bring some clarity to women on some of the tactics that we would use to target men, is there was this one trend that was going at the time that we would get the girls to do. So think of like a big like dresser, and it's got like a vanity, you know.
Hmm.
And you've got all these little makeup compacts and all the mirrors are facing up to face you. And so what we would do is you would have like 20 of these little makeup compacts, they're facing you, and there's a trending song playing in the background, and you're scanning this with your phone. And
Uh-huh.
the caption is, Did you see it? And the song's like a sexualized song. And so
Hmm.
you go, Did I see it? Well, did I see what? And
Hmm.
so then you keep watching, you keep watching, you keep, what am I looking for? What? And then you notice that one of the girls is in lingerie, like in the thing, but it's like the slightest little, and so that's how you
Yeah.
hook men. And
Yeah.
that's again where they're targeting their weakest essence and their weakest points. And you can, and then again, if that's like one video that got 2.2 million views, no matter how much you try and manipulate your algorithm, you can do the right thing, you can be an outstanding guy. This is just going to pop up,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yes.
And so it's like, oh, did you see it? Did I see? Oh, and then
Yes.
you know what? You've clicked, and then you've clicked on the TikTok, and then you're watching more, and then you're on the Insta, and then before you know it, and then all of a sudden, I don't even know how, but now I'm at the OnlyFans. And so it's so intentional and it's so targeted. And that's what I was going to say. My coworker who does this, he goes, men aren't the consumers, the men are the ones being consumed.
Yes.
And I think that that's just an excellent example of just one tactic that an agency uses to be able to consume men and bring them into their ecosystem. And for a lot of agencies or for a lot of people in this world, they're not doing it to destroy marriages, or they're not doing it because they want you to feel bad about yourself as like the wife. They
Right.
just want to make money. It's
Yes.
literally a business.
Yes.
There's no emotion, there's no personal ability. Like, I hope that, again, I feel that women in these situations are, it's so personal and it's so vulnerable, and you can feel so attacked and so degraded. But I just hope that's maybe a little bit of extra insight is, it's not an attack against you, but it's literally just a way that people are trying to make money,
A
and
100%.
negate it. It doesn't make it okay. But again, it doesn't mean that it devalues you,
Mhm.
that there's an industry that's literally trying to exploit men to make money off of them.
Yes. Well, I think that's so good to recognize, and I talk about this all the time, is that which most of my ladies, right, is they're not technology gurus, right? It's
Mm,
like they're just on Instagram and understanding, and then I do presentations on this in churches all the time of like making people aware and talking to parents about how to talk to their kids about pornography. And what most people don't understand is that they are targeted specifically, even just based off their gender, right? Like you were saying, it's just because the guy is on any social media app, he is going to be targeted and shown different things simply because of his gender. And women are going to be shown different things. Women are going to be shown clothing, and they're going to be shown diet and exercise and plastic surgery. And men are going to be shown different accounts, things that they are targeting specifically. And it's fascinating to recognize that not only are the men being consumed and targeted, but so are the women
totally.
who are being targeted to be pulled into this industry to target men. They are so, both men and women are being targeted for their weaknesses, at where we want to be validated. And I think this is one of the things that like as a Christian, I feel so validated and confident in my identity in Christ. But when you don't have that, or even if you do, there's like the natural part of us that wants to be liked, that wants to be accepted, that wants to have external validation. And for men, you feel that a lot from women. And for women, you feel that a lot from getting attention from men. And so that's being exploited by an industry that knows exactly how people work and wants to use that for their benefit, for their monetary benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so that's like an excellent way to put it of it. Again, so we need to remember to attack the problem,
Yes.
not attack the
100%.
person. Because if you want to put, I guess, a spiritual lens on this,
Yeah.
well, we all know that the enemy doesn't want marriages, doesn't want these things,
Correct.
wants to pervert things. So it's like you're literally giving him what he wants by
Yes.
then going, well, anti-men. Well, screw you. You're this,
Yes.
you're that. It's like, no, 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 no. It's literally giving exactly what is the opposite of what we're supposed to be doing in these situations, where
Mhm.
it's going, hey, we're going to band together. This is
Yes.
painful. This
Yes.
isn't okay. This, like, there are boundaries and, things that need to be implemented, but together in love, we're going to overcome this. And this is going to be something that doesn't destroy us,
A
doesn't
hundred
destroy me,
percent.
and doesn't destroy you. Because otherwise, unfortunately, it just turns in favor of the thing that we're, trying to stand against.
Absolutely. To me, that is something I talk to my ladies a lot about, changing that mentality. It's not you versus your husband, it's you and your husband against pornography. And changing that mentality is so powerful to be able to then start moving forward. Because otherwise, if it is just you versus your husband, or everybody,
Hmm.
husband, porn, OnlyFans girl versus me, then you have another victim, right? Then the wife just becomes the next victim to the porn industry.
Hmm.
And it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm just so fascinated by this. I think this kind of reminds me of when my husband, so after he was over his pornography problem, and I was working through all of it and like healing from it. I recognized I was listening to a Fight the New Drug podcast episode, and they were interviewing a former porn performer, and I started feeling so much anger toward this girl. And it
Mm,
made no sense because she's sitting there telling me this horrible story about how she got into the industry and how she'd been, sexually exploited as a teen, and like, which is a huge majority of them, right? Is they have some kind of trauma in their past, or they're sold this glory story of like, you're going to be famous. And I was listening to her story, and it was so sad, and yet I was so mad at her. And so I
yeah.
took a look at that, and I was like, why am I so mad at this girl that I've never met, who my husband has never even seen, right? And I recognized I had some misdirected anger. And I think that
Mm,
that's something I coach a lot of women on. This is they have misdirected anger at their husband's parents for not talking to him about sex, or for his pastor for not helping him, or for the porn industry, or for the women who are OnlyFans that, and it's not that you can't ever feel that and process it and let that go. We can totally do that. But harboring that resentment, I think, is what prevents us from actually being capable of seeing you and your husband on the same team versus pornography. And the way that I have seen to resolve that is opening up with more compassion and understanding that not only is your husband getting manipulated, you are getting manipulated, and so are these women. The women
mm.
and men who are in the porn industry, they are sold a lie in the same way that anybody consuming it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, even if there's someone listening to this now and perhaps they're seeing even me and being like, you are a proponent of this, like you are one of the reasons why, I got hurt and like all of that. It's like you do have the capacity to, be frustrated at me or go, how could you? And it's totally valid and that's so fair enough. And like the minimum I can be like is I'm so sorry to contribute to that. But I think that um one of the biggest things that I've learned in this is you don't, and it sounds so silly, but you don't know what you don't know. And
Yes.
so if you like people are so blessed to have a lens on of Jesus and
Yeah.
to understand right from wrong and to understand what good is and what evil is. But people that have no grid, like no, I remember like coming into faith and I sat down with my young adults pastor and I looked at her and I said, you don't live with someone before you get married? And she goes, no. And I said, but how? How are you going to know
Right.
them? How are you going? So when you have no grid for faith, you can't expect people who have a lens on of Jesus, like the community of Christians do. You can't expect people that have no grid for Jesus to have the same morality as
Right.
you.
Hmm.
And so it's like when it comes to this world and this industry, I had no idea. Like I've never even consumed porn. So I didn't know what OnlyFans was, which is why I talk so much about it because not so
Hmm.
many people do. But the lens that I was given and from culture and from my peers and from everyone around me was OnlyFans is the new era of porn. It's ethical, it's positive, it's empowering. This is one of the oldest industries in the world, and we're able to bring freedom and equality to this industry.
Yes.
And so it's like if that's your lens, you genuinely don't think you're doing anything wrong. Like
Right.
I had people at the agency tell me that it's like a safe injecting heroin room. They give people a safe place to do drugs. We give people a safe place to do porn. That we're female run, so we're empowering and we're a safe space for these girls, and we're not going to exploit them. And
Right.
so you can start to understand now the lens of this is the narrative that we're getting pushed from the greater culture. So then we're pushing this to girls. So
Yes.
girls then are going, oh, well, why would I go to college or why would I do this or why would I go get a normal job when I can go be an empowered and liberated female and
Mhm.
go do OnlyFans and it's ethical and it's all the things. And so I'm hoping that that gives a little bit of context and lens for some women that, again, it doesn't negate it. And I can't I can empathize to some degree coming from abusive relationships where I've been cheated on.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know the pain of being in a relationship, having a husband and going through this. But I hope that again, as you're talking about the clarity or the compassion element of it, of going, oh, I shouldn't take this. that personal
Yes.
against that girl or against that against my husband or whatever, and again go, man, some people must be so lost to think that this is dang, all right, God, you know what? Again, I got to rise up and just be able to go through all of the hurt and the pain with Jesus. But then you gotta pray for your enemies. You gotta pray for people because you might be the only person that's interceding and praying for that person in their life, and that's so hard. But I think that we're really called to that level of compassion and empathy and understanding because otherwise we're just, again, you're attacking people, you're not attacking the problem, and we're never going to see an end to this.
100%. I completely agree with that. And I think it's kind of the same thing. It reminds me for people who aren't being pushed into OnlyFans, it's the same lie that we're sold as like Instagram influencers, right? If you want to be a social media influencer, there's like this top tier who are making bank, and then the majority of everyone else not bringing in a lot of cash. And yet you're sold this
Mm.
idea of like fame and glory. Like you said, you're like, let's bring all these people in and recruit and show them what's possible, and they're going to have this great life. And I've heard you say this so many times is like the average OnlyFan performer only makes, was it like $160 a month?
Yeah, $180 a month. Yeah.
$180 a month. And yet these poor girls, which they recruit young so that they can get these girls before they have a chance to actually sit down, and they still believe it, right?
Yeah.
They're gullible and they appeal. Again, they're manipulating girls specifically to enter into this at a time where they're the most susceptible.
Yep, yep, exactly. And we even see now through like things like the Bop House and everything that young, like 13, 14, 15-year-old girls are idolizing becoming sex
Yes.
workers. And as soon as they're 18, they want to go be a part of the Bop House. And so it's
Mhm.
like, whoa, this is a bigger cultural conversation and a
Yes.
big thing that is impacting the generation. So, and oh, dang, like we again have to really understand that it's an entire industry and it's ruthless and it's brutal and it doesn't care if you're an 8-year-old because that's the average. I think in America, the average age of pornography exposure is now 9 years old. So
Yep.
again, how do you reconcile that?
Right.
And be like, okay, there's probably poor, like, yeah, young boys that are growing up being exposed to this. And we got to do something about that. I know so many men that are even just say from that, like, maybe like 25 to 35 that have been exposed at young rates
Yes.
and they've never spoken about it. They've never. And so how are we navigating this and talking about this and creating spaces for men to literally be like, oh my gosh, like I have a friend who, and he's so open and vulnerable with his story and it's exceptional, but I guess like a little bit of a trigger warning, like it's a bit heavy, but he basically from as young as possible was being sexually assaulted by men. And I think when he was 10 years old, he got exposed to pornography. And when he speaks, because we've spoken together, he goes, I literally felt like there was a sign on my forehead that said like abuse me. That's how bad it was. So
Yeah.
and he goes, it got to about 18, 19, and it was so bad that the addiction, the shame, the guilt, the trauma, that he
Yes.
goes, well, maybe if I get married and become a pastor, it'll make all my problems go away.
Yes.
So again, no support, no community, no lens. He's like, if I just push this down and if I get married and go do the Jesus,
Yes.
yeah. And then about 6 years in, I think it was, he's like, of course, natural things happen. The kids grow up, like intimacy dies down. Not that that's a, but he's like, my we're fighting a little bit more. So it brought up and triggered
Yes.
everything. He doesn't have the tools in place for
Right.
this severe trauma. So he went back to those things to try and bury the trauma. And he ended up getting arrested for attempted rape because he was consuming more extreme pornography. He was then purchasing. And again, it was this scale. And
Yes.
so I was about to literally, he's like, I had the car door open. I had a girl there. And I told her, I'm going to do this to her. And he goes, the Holy Spirit just hit me in that moment and said, what are you doing? And he had this moment of revelation. And he like looked at her and he goes, I'm so sorry. And he ran away. Um, he ends up getting arrested for it and he gets put in prison. And but then he goes through this journey of finally telling someone, hey, I've been assaulted my whole life. This is what it stemmed from. And he went on this journey of going like, I needed to heal myself and I needed to fix myself. And I thought that these things, I thought I could run from it. There was no support for me. There was no nothing, all the shame. And what do I do as a man? And
Yes.
so it's like, and they're common stories. I know that might
Yes.
sound, And so it's like, dang, it's a both and, because a lot of men that end up growing up and consuming all of this um, have trauma as well, just as much as the girls that are the ones, doing OnlyFans or doing porn or whatever. And I think that that's also, anyways, I really care about that, as you can tell, but it's
Absolutely.
a huge part of the equation.
Absolutely. And I think that it's so powerful. This sounds so familiar. Most of my ladies, their husbands started consuming porn prepubescent, right? Between
Wow.
around 11, 13, right? And it was something they got introduced to and exposed to, and then that became the crutch, the coping mechanism. And so many of them thought, okay, well, as soon as I get married, this will go away because our brain, we are taught that lie in our society that pornography is about sex, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's about dopamine, it's about a release, a distraction, right? That's why we pull toward it, is because it's something that feels better than however we're feeling right now, right? And then that system gets kind of stuck in the same way that you turn to alcohol or online shopping or gambling. It's the same cycle. And it's not about sex. But when we don't see that because pornography is sexual, then that's why we have such a problem with making the wives making it mean something about them, right? Because they're the sexual partner. So they assume they're not enough, something's wrong with them if their husband is reaching to something else, when in reality, it's just an inability to cope with trauma, to be able to cope with what's coming up for you emotionally. So you reach out for something better and or something that feels better in that
Mm.
moment, right? And this is something that I am so passionate about. Like I love my job, I love what I do, but after like a couple years in, I thought, I love that I'm working with these ladies, but I'm actually also so frustrated that this is my job because I'm dealing with just after it's already a problem, right? I'm just
Yeah.
dealing with, I'm like the aftercare, right? I'm like, I want to get ahead of this. And it's something I've been super passionate about is trying to bring awareness to the cultural shift that we need to have, especially as Christians, to combat pornography. Is
Yeah.
that pornography? We know how the enemy is using it. Like, this is not a secret. Okay. It's been
Yeah.
operating the same way for decades. Is okay, this is when you're going to get exposed to it. Here's the avenues we're going to use. And sometimes those tactics change a little bit, but we aren't changing how we're going after it. We're just waiting to get hit. It's like we
Oh,
haven't, as
that's
like
so
a
good.
general
Yeah.
Christian community, we have not done a good job of going on offense. Right now, we've been
Yeah.
playing a defensive strategy against pornography up until this point, and it's not working. That's why we're losing, is because we're not attacking it. We're just waiting to get hit. It's like if we played sports, it's like, look, when you are playing a certain football team professionally, it's like you're going to go watch their tape and you're going to watch how they play, and then you're going to change your own strategies to adapt so that you can win. We haven't done that. We're just waiting to get hit. We're like, okay, well, all boys are going to watch porn. Boys will be boys. They're just going to do it. This is just something people are going to deal with. There's nothing we can do. It's inevitable. And I've heard all of these things for so many years that are just lies. And it's really something that I'm just so passionate about emphasizing is we can beat this. We just have to start going on offense. And I think the biggest way to do that is, again, coming back to the understanding that it's not me versus you versus the OnlyFans girl versus someone else's husband. It's like every one of us who believes this is wrong in our imperfections coming together and all of us against pornography. And that's how we win.
Oh, I just love it. You've got me hyped up. But it's so true. And it's like it's so excellent. It's like the enemy's tactics are they're obvious, but yet for some reason we still put this in the taboo pile.
Yes.
And like it's so silly because it all of majority of this correct can be combated with prevention. And
Yeah.
so it's like, so where does that start? Well, again, it's multi-generational, but if adults can have healing for their sexual identity
Yes.
and understand again, just all of the intricacies that come with that,
Yeah.
then that means you're going to be an excellent educator and example for your child. So
Yes.
if the average age of pornography exposure is 8 or 9 years old, well,
Mhm.
then that's the average. So that means down to 5-year-olds then would
Mhm.
potentially be getting exposed to porn.
Yep.
So how then us as Christians taking up our due diligence that is needed to educate our children on this. So that doesn't mean you sit down with your 3 to 5-year-old and say, hey, do you know that porn exists out in the world?
Right.
No. But if they have access to any type of technology in
Yeah.
any capacity, do you know that there's good pictures, bad pictures?
I
And
love
some,
that book. We have that book. We
yeah.
have both books. Kristen Jensen is amazing. I have 5 kids, and they're
Oh,
between
that's so
now they're
fun. I love that.
now they're between 7 and 13. But I've been
Yeah.
doing this for 5 years, and so we've been talking, and my kids know what I do, and I get so much backlash on social media, not just from people that think porn is fine, but from Christians who are like, "How dare you? What if your kids find out you do this?" And I'm like, "My kids know I do this, and I'm grateful that they do because I have been talking to them about pornography in age appropriate ways since they were 3 and 4 because." That's when they need to know because so that when they do see it, which they've most of them have seen it, right? Whether on a cousin's phone or the neighbor kid, whatever, it's like
At
they're going
school,
to be
like,
exposed to it.
yeah.
You have to get ahead of it. And as a parent, you have to be willing to have the difficult conversation. And I think when this is so why like it's so vital for men and women to heal their own guilt and shame and humiliation around pornography because when they don't, it prevents them from talking to their kids about it. So if
Yeah.
a husband and wife are struggling with this, they almost want to keep it a bigger secret from their kids that porn even exists because they are so nervous that their kid will find out that that's something they're working through. And I'm like, you don't have to tell your kid you're working through this. But if you do heal from that yourself, it enables you to approach that conversation in a much more vulnerable and open way that encourages your children to not only understand it, but then if they do, heaven forbid, struggle themselves, they don't feel like they're the only ones.
Well, that's the thing. Like that's excellent. It's like you don't sit there and be like, hey guys, so mum and dad like are struggling because dad's watching porn at the moment and that's impacting on our sex life and it doesn't make me feel good. Like, no,
Yeah.
like that's common sense, guys. Like that's not necessary.
Right.
But again, you can sit down with your children and whatever, depending on the age, yeah, good pictures, bad pictures. Or you could even sit there and if they do have social media, just start to be interested in what they're consuming. Like, be like, I think that it is not a wise decision for a parent to not be involved. I heard someone put this excellently. It's like, if your child leaves the house, you're going to know, are they at school? Are they at a friend's house? Where are they? Are they down the street? What?
Mhm.
There's parameters that you put in place to protect your child physically when they're out in the world. Well, it's like, what world are they on this? Because there
Yes.
is infinite worlds that they can be on. So
Mhm.
we need to be just as due diligent on the digital as we are in the physical, because your child could be sitting there and her favorite Instagram influencers or TikTokers are literally OnlyFans girls. I know
Yes.
so many young girls that idolize these girls. And the thing is, majority of schools that I speak in and places and spaces is Christian. It's not secular.
Right.
And all of the young people there, 18 and down, know what OnlyFans is. When I talk about Bop Girls, when I talk about Sophie Rain, when I talk about all these other, they know what I'm on about. So it's
Mhm.
like, and parents get shocked. And I'm
Yes.
like, you have no idea what's happening. So your young daughter is now being influenced by a bunch of multi-millionaire OnlyFans girls that live together, have this amazing life. One claims to be Christian as well.
Hmm.
And so that's what's, are you sitting down with your young person and just being like, who are you interested? Like, who do you like to follow? What's
Right.
the curiosity and why do you like to follow them? Oh, well, do you think that you can achieve those dreams as well? Do you want a nice home? Do you
Right.
want to be able to travel? Okay, well, you know what? Let's put a plan in action. Let's do a
Yes.
dream together. Like, if you want to have, and like, I do this with, I've been doing this with my nephew and like trialing this a little bit.
Uh-huh.
But my nephew, he just turned 10 and he's starting to have conversations around like he really wants to buy a home.
Hmm.
And so I sit with him and I say, all right, pick, like, let's do it. What house do you want?
Yeah.
Let's make a plan. And like, I don't care if he decides that he wants to pick like a $500 million house. It's not about that.
Right.
But let him, because then we can go, you have the capacity within you to achieve that dream.
Yes.
Let's write something down and let's instill those values in him. Same with like your young daughter or whoever it is, because then they're going to have that lens on of, okay, well, the world's telling me this, but at home, I'm nurtured and I'm loved. And I know that I actually have a value that's greater than selling myself on the, like, kids think
Yes.
this way because
Yes.
they're influenced by it. But if you're not opening up And see, that's not even like a heavy conversation of like, do you know
Right.
porn online? It's just about their dreams and their
Mhm.
capacity. And so every parent knows their child better than what we can give advice on. But I think that that is a really important preventative because then your child isn't going to grow up and be that 30-year-old man who's been addicted to porn is 5 years in the marriage. It
Mhm.
finally blows up,
Yes.
and then having to deal with the remnants of that, you know?
100%. I love this so much. Something I'm so passionate about, obviously. You and I match, okay?
Yeah.
So let me
I
ask
love
you
this.
this.
Yeah.
Like, walk me through, um, what was it like for you to leave? Like that,
Mm,
I know you talk about like that encounter you had with Jesus, but your life now looks completely different than it
yeah.
did a year and a half ago. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about that transformation and what that's been like for you. I know you're very close with your dad and you have this nephew and all of these things. Like there's some beautiful pieces, but has there been, I mean, anytime we do anything good, Satan's going to attack, right? So tell me a little bit about what this has looked like for you, like the good and the bad.
Definitely. So I guess for people to understand a little bit of context and then I'll get into it. I was working at the OnlyFans agency. I'm seeing porn for the first time. It's girls that I know. I'm building relationships with them. So I'm really struggling. So I was like, okay, I need to do something that's a big enough act of good to offset all the bad that I'm
Mhm.
doing. And that's
Yeah.
going to make me feel better.
Yes.
Through that, I ended up remembering that when I was a really young kid, I went to this church. They had like a refugee program. I'll sign up for the refugee program. That's an extreme act of good. I'll go overseas, help them, come back. I was building another business at the time. So I was like, amazing. I'll do that. By the time I come back, the other business will be up and running. I don't have to work at the agency anymore. Genius.
Hmm.
Um, so I sign up for this like outreach program, and that application never goes to the young adults pastor. But I mean, sorry, that application never goes to the outreach team, but instead the young adults pastor gets an email and it said, Victoria wants to reach out to the church. Here's her number, call her. And so where I get a call one day from this girl and she's like, hey, I heard you want to come down to church. I think it's like a vetting process that like Christians do. I don't
Sure.
know. I was like, sure, I'll come down on a Thursday. So I come to this church on a Thursday. I kind of alluded to what was, but I didn't tell some church person that I sell porn. I was just
Right.
like, yeah, I'm struggling a little bit, and you know.
Right.
So I come to church on a Thursday, and I end up word vomiting for hours to this beautiful woman about this is what I do. Everyone tells me this is good. I don't know what to do. It doesn't make me feel good. Help. um, and she goes, I really think you should come to church this Sunday. We have a guest speaker, and I think she'll really resonate with you. So I come to church on the Sunday, and there's a guest speaker in church that's talking about this over sexualized culture. And
Yeah.
she's talking about OnlyFans and the dangers and like all of this. And it's just clicking in my heart. And I'm like, I'm not crazy. This is
Yes.
wrong. And she said this line, and she goes, Christians are supposed to be the salt and the light of the earth, and they have failed, and we are destroying the next generation. And it was just this revelatory. I didn't understand that language or what that meant, but I just went, oh my gosh, this is wrong. And
Yes.
I knew it. And so when she finished speaking, I ran down to her and I just went up to her and I said, my name's Victoria. I work for an OnlyFans agency and I hate myself. Um, this beautiful lady had lunch with me and she just answered all my questions. And so that was on the Sunday. So that's what happened. And basically, I knew immediately. I was like, okay. And the thing is, people have asked, well, did you do an altar call? Did you give your life? Did you do this? I was like, no, because I wasn't a pet project to convert. But
Right.
sat down with me as a human
Yes.
and just spoke with me, gave me time, answered my questions. And so I didn't, and God is so big that all that I left that day feeling was, I don't know what this Jesus thing is, but I have to follow it at all costs. I just had this lens of on. So by that Friday, yeah, I'd quit the agency. Um and that was like a 14-year friendship with the owner of the agency, like my best friend. And we were business partners in the other business that we were running as well. So
Mhm.
like all my dreams got taken away. All my
Oh
dreams
my
got
goodness.
shattered. This person who'd been my best friend since I was a kid is taken away. My friendship group, like it, all the things you can imagine. I was very addicted to cigarettes. Like I'm talking smoking like a 30 pack a day. The vapes came out. That was just all bad. Um, Cocaine, alcohol,
Mhm.
everything you can imagine. And so God is so kind. Basically, I guess the good part of all of this is like 8 weeks later, I am sober. I am radically healed of sobriety. I'm baptized. I'm not doing anything. I end up working at a cafe for a bit, which was very humbling. And God just radically, radically changed my life in the matter of weeks. And so for me, the lens that I had on was, oh my gosh, Jesus just did everything for me.
Yeah.
This person that literally I thought when I was waiting that Thursday to go in and speak to this young adults pastor, I had a voice tell me, you cannot go into that church. You are such a bad person. You will burst into flames. And so to have someone that literally thought that of themselves and thought they were too far gone and they are a horrible human, to 8 weeks later feel like they're seeing life in color for the first time since they were a young child, to not be suicidal, to not be depressed. I had severe people think OCD is like you're really clean, but OCD is not.
Yeah.
It's obsessive compulsive behaviors.
Yes.
And mine was obsessive compulsive. I'm still a fiddler now, but obsessive compulsive thoughts. So
Hmm.
I'm not sleeping, I'm ruminating. It's just
Yes.
this war in my mind because I overanalyze and it just never ends. It's all gone. So that's the beautiful stuff of what's happened, and the way that the Lord has just healed me and miraculously changed my life. And I just learned that the more you can surrender quickly, the more you can dive headfirst into your healing
Hmm.
and be ruthless in pursuing Jesus and pursuing healing. I was like in deliverance ministry, like I didn't even know what it was, but like as soon as I like deliverance ministry, like as soon as possible, um, you know,
Yeah.
and just going head first into all the horror. I remember the first time, it was before Jesus had even like revealed himself to me, but it was like a couple weeks in to my faith journey, I guess. And I sat there and I wrote down every single horrific thing that has happened to me in my life. Like I've had people try to kill me. That's why I have a scar on my forehead. Someone threw me through a window. I survived it, like crazy stuff. And I just wrote down all of the trauma and all of the, even on a thought level of ugly
Yeah.
thoughts. And I said, Jesus, I need you to get rid of all of this. And bit by bit, we were able to cross that list off, And about a year later, I realized that I was able to cross off every single thing on that list. And so that's the beautiful stuff. And I love talking about that because God is so good.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that if you are just Ruth, if you take him at his word in the simplicity of if the Bible says it, he will do it, and believe that without an inch of wavering, and just be ruthless in surrender. And no matter what it is, it doesn't matter. Like I've emptied my bank account to $0. Like I've done
Yeah.
everything that God has asked me to, and it's so worth it. But on the other hand, all of that's happening to me, but everyone thinks that I've lost the plot and that I am absolutely crazy.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I do. I have a really lovely, I have a beautiful family. But I guess radical faith looks like foolishness to a lot of people. And
Right.
so I'm giving away, emptying my bank account. I get another job after the agency, which was an incredible career. Like that would have been like for life, that job. And it was an amazing opportunity. And I quit.
Yeah.
And I say yes to going to America last year and to do a tour and be around people that
Mhm.
I don't know. And again, I have no money. How am I going to do? So from the outside looking in, people were like, you have lost the plot. You are crazy. You
Uh-huh.
are reckless. You are irresponsible.
Right.
You are, overzealous. You are righteous. Like you're all these things now. Like, um, and I just had to kind of, block out that frequency and just
Right.
go, I can't deny the change that I've seen in my life, in my heart, in my thought life, and just pursue that. And, the best I can, learn boundaries and parameters
Right.
with people that don't understand it. And just continuously just like as lame as it sounds, but like just pray for them,
Right.
not let it affect me.
Right.
And I guess to put it in, super Christian terms, but just run the race and not look to the left or to the right.
Yeah, I love this so much. I love the way that you phrased it, right? Is that healing is a pursuit, right? Is that oftentimes, I mean, Jesus will always meet us where we are, but we have to look for him.
Mm,
And Jesus is always pursuing you. He's always pursuing each one of us, but sometimes we're running away. Sometimes we are like running away from Jesus and he's like chasing after us and using other people to try and come. But when we turn around and we pursue him and we pursue healing, it is a beautiful thing and it requires pursuit. I love that that's the word that you used because sometimes we want to just be healed, right? We're just like, Jesus, can you just like heal me? And he can. It's not that he can't, but sometimes he's like, no, you need to go wash 7 times in the River Jordan and you need to go march however many times around Jericho. Like there
Yeah.
is some action required. And he'll take all of that effort, all of the pursuit that we give, and he meets it tenfold, always. And I love your story, and I'm so grateful that you were willing to share it because I think that sometimes my ladies can get so hopeless in
Mm,
thinking that things could ever change either for them or for their husband, right? And or together, right? Like this is something they're always going to struggle with. They'll always feel not good enough. Their husband will always watch porn. Their marriage is always going to be so stuck from this. But the reality is that there is always hope. There is always the possibility of change, especially through Jesus. And I think that that's really just such a beautiful message. I think that your life and the decisions that you've made are a great example of that. And so I'm so grateful that you shared that because that's something that I think my ladies need to see.
yeah, I hope that that's an encouragement for anyone listening. Like I sat across from another lady that I work with in this industry, and she's grown up with generational exploitation.
Yeah.
She was literally exploited from birth. And we could sit across from each other, and I'm someone that was exploiting women, and I was hurting women and hurting, and we are now working together
Yeah.
to fight the problem. She's not going, you're the type of people, you're the like, and it was just such a surreal moment. Like I've even worked with people that are ex porn stars. I've worked with people that are, yeah, are ex sex buyers, the whole spectrum.
Right.
And it's like if God can put those type of extremes in a room together and we can sit and be forgiven and redeemed and not have people be angry at us and lash out and like and again say, okay, how do we come together and attack the problem?
Yeah.
Like I just think it's such a beautiful picture of restoration and redemption, and none of us are sitting there being like, I don't deserve to be. It's no,
Right.
like God has washed away our past. He has healed us. He has restored us. He has given us our true identity. And so we're taking this and we're going to use it to be able to overcome these things that tried to crush us and to help other people. But it's in that unity and it's so powerful. And I just hope that is a picture of hope for anyone. Like the OnlyFans agency is like the tip of the iceberg of my
Yes.
story. I actually have like a full podcast that explains, honestly, from like kindergarten all the way up, everything that has happened in my life. And it's like if God can take that and redeem and restore that and heal that, like I really hope that that is just some little bit of hope for someone that you can absolutely, without a doubt, have that in your life too.
Always. I love this. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your story. Okay, if my listeners want to follow you, tell me where they can find you. I know
Yeah.
where they can find you, but you tell everybody.
Yeah. So Victoria Sinis is my Instagram, Victoria.Sinis, Sinis. And then on YouTube, I literally just started like a couple weeks ago, like a podcast, which is creating gems. So
Yes.
it's diving, yeah, in honestly, it's just really raw and chaotic. And it's just coming from the life I did, coming into what I do now, and me just kind of processing and tracking this journey. With people as I went from one extreme to obviously now finding Jesus. So yeah, that's super fun, and I already love the little community that's being built there. So yeah, Creating Gems podcast on YouTube, and then I also have a TikTok which is just like Vic.Sinis as well. So come hang out there because that's super fun.
Excellent. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your story and being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
All right, my lady, thank you so much for spending time with me today and listening to this episode. I hope that it helped you a little bit more on your journey. If you are ready for more support, more healing, and more hope, I want to personally invite you into my program, Go Forward. Whether you're ready to dive into the self-guided master course or you want to surround yourself with a community of like-minded women who truly understand, there is a place for you here. You can get started today by visiting www.jolenewin.com. Don't wait for things to change to start healing. Your next step begins now.